Hour 2 Overdrive continues, brought to you by FanDuel. Bryan Hayes, Dog, Jeff O'Neill, Jamie Noodles, McLennan, TSN 1050. The TSN app up on TSN 2. Got a big hour here. Gerry makes his triumphant return. We'll catch up with Gerry. Gerry's percentages in about a half an hour. And Jason Strudwick. Struddy making his return to the show. We haven't caught up with Struddy in a while. See what he's been up to out there in Edmonton. Right?
I think he had a good summer.
I'm sure he did.
What does that guy do in the summers? Like, I need to know.
I think for 3 weeks he runs the Jason Strudwick defenseman camp.
Is that right?
And I swear on my life.
Is it like two stations? One is rip it off the glass, and the second station's in front of the net where you cross-check someone in the teeth?
Wouldn't that be hilarious if he had a dummy in front of the net and he was just cross-checking people, and then the other one was just high and hard off the glass?
That'd be the perfect drills.
There's only 6 stations. Each corner, you rip it off the glass, and then in front of both nets, cross-check to the face.
Yeah.
No, at one end it's a cross-check to the back of the head. The other end it's a cross-check in the lower back.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like pushing the pant down and like raking the spine.
The can opener.
Oh, so
Who
gutless.
was famous for the can opener? Wasn't it
McCabe.
ass face there?
Yeah,
Caber?
Caber. Oh, Caber loved that move.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not ass face. What's his name? Ugly face. Sorry.
Ugly face.
Got to get that right. Come
I
on, man.
apologize.
We really pride ourselves on getting that kind of stuff right.
That is his secondary nickname.
That's a tough one.
If
but
you
ugly
need
face.
to know.
Yeah, ugly face.
Yeah.
All right, yeah.
Dude, they put a rule in just for Caber because he was crushing people with that can opener.
Yeah, down
It's
the wall,
it's a
right? Like
great-
he's trying to go
he
wide
was
on him.
he was just their knees were blowing out. He was just crushing people into the boards with the can opener.
It
And
is.
Jerry said, "No way, Caber."
No, you can't do it.
Well, it was a greasy play. You would hate that, wouldn't you? You're coming one-on-one with a guy and he just sticks his stick between his legs.
Oh,
your
it's the
legs. It just
greasiest.
turns you.
Yeah.
It's
Greasiest move possible.
yeah, it's nonsense. So Struddy might have a can opener station.
That'd be great. A can opener. How many different stations can we come up with before we get Struddy on?
Yeah.
Some sort of interaction with the ref, probably trying to get himself off the hook. Like ref interactions.
Well, maybe
could that be a station?
Maybe it's a flyby by the scorer's table trying to get a greasy
secondary assist. That'd be a good
Junior.
station.
Yeah.
Make sure you get in there and let them know that you got your stick on that for a second assist.
And
That's
off
not a
ice,
bad idea.
it could be the turkey station. I don't know. I
Taking
don't know
a
how
peak station?
Every time I go to Edmonton, there will be, and I'm not lying, I swear to God, I was there this summer, and I was out, and a guy leaned over to me and he said, "Struddy needs to go to Turkey." I didn't even know who the guy was. He literally leaned over and said, "You got to tell Struddy he's got to go to Turkey."
That's so disappointing.
He's probably got the palm tree cooking right on the top of his forehead, doesn't he? Like just a little sprout.
Yeah.
And he's just combing it sideways.
It might be in a circle by now. I don't know. We might have to ask how the hair situation is.
All right, we'll get to the bottom of that. Struddy's coming up here in a moment. It is minor hockey season now. You get post Labor Day, you get into September, you get into school. I think a lot of the minor hockey associations are going to start certainly practicing. I know my kids have got skates in a couple weeks, and it's 40 degrees outside. It does not feel like hockey at all.
I'm not 100% certain, but I think it's so crazy. They have already had tryouts in the spring for this year.
That's right. That's the way it works in minor hockey. I don't remember that being the case when I was a kid.
How is that
probably
possible, though? Don't you want to give the kid the summer to maybe have a look at him in the fall? But I don't know.
I guess it's just
minor
you make
hockey
the teams.
is just so insane these days, the way people talk about it. All the way from single A to double A. Every kid thinks their kid, or every parent thinks their kid is going to the NHL. Mm-hmm. And if anyone wants a reason why everyone's so bananas, that's the reason. It's not just for leisure to play with their friends and have a good time and learn about, being a good teammate and being on a team. Everyone's idea is my kid's going to the NHL. That's why everyone's nutso, and they pay nutso money and they do nutso things.
I put my son in a hockey camp this summer for 1 week just to put him in a camp. It was unbelievable. The Vitali camp here, and I think it's in Woodbridge, but it was a full day. He was on the ice for 4 hours.
Yeah.
The second day, he's like, "Daddy, my legs are sore." I'm like, "All right, well, good luck with that."
Yeah, have fun out there.
But by the end of the week, he absolutely loved it, and they were so great there. The whole crew was awesome. But I'm I know I played in the NHL, but I have no education when it comes to the minor hockey system now. So it's
like a totally different world. Well, it's a 12-month-a-year thing now.
That's the thing.
That was the big thing. Like, we all played around the same time. Like, when my hockey bag went away, it was gone for 4 months.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't touch hockey for months. Go play baseball. I'd play baseball all summer.
Yeah.
And by September, you'd wake up, you'd be like, all right, we got to get ready. Get a new stick. Maybe you need some new gear,
whatever. We were the same way as pros. You put the bag away, you go take a peek for a couple months, and then you get back in shape. That's what you do.
That's right. But now you get big camps with former NHLers and Spengler Cup legends like Struddy.
It's a trickle-down effect, too. You see Connor McDavid on the ice with Austin Matthews doing drill. I think the big thing with these guys now is they're not taking too much time off the ice.
No, they're not.
It's like it's 2 weeks, and then they're putting their gear back on.
But those are professionals. They're not 9.
Yeah.
Like they make millions of dollars.
They're enrolling in the Jason Strudwick defenseman camp.
Yes.
But, dude, even regardless, some modern-day training, it used to be like you're not skating for a while. You're doing like fast twitch, high-end, off-ice stuff, and then these guys get the gear on in 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's quick.
Yeah.
It's quick. All right, how many stations did we establish for the Struddy defenseman coach?
6.
There's actually 7. 1 in each corner at the Struddy defenseman camp, where you just rip it off the glass and get it out. And in front of each net, one is the cross-check to the lower back, the other one's to the face, and there's a backhand pizza station along the half wall.
Okay. Here's Jason Strudwick joining us here on the Mapleton Hotline. Is that accurate? Are those the 7 stations at your defenseman camp?
Well, first off, Hayes, you don't have to convince anyone that you didn't play hockey during the summer. I looked at your stats. I believe you.
I needed your camp, Struddy. I could have made the NHL if I had your camp.
You could have come to my camp as long as you promised to not wear anything with my logo on it, because I don't want anyone saying that you went. I'll actually buy ice and do you one-on-one, but I don't want – you're the kind of kid I don't want there.
I understand that. I'm a reputation killer. Is that what you're telling me?
Struddy, give us what kind of stations do you have set up? Tell us. Be honest.
For the older kids, I do talk a little about, I talk a little bit about making it look like an accident when someone runs you and your stick actually, accidentally hits a kid in the shoulder or the arm. Because then those guys don't run you anymore. Like you think about on the blue line. You take a shot and you got some musclehead running you over. So I always just put my stick out and the ref's like, keep your stick down. I'm like, it's an accident. I was finishing my shot.
Struddy, you know what the ultimate veteran trick was? And Brad McCrimmon, my dear friend, had it perfected. If he got beat to the outside, he would act like he was stumbling backwards and turn to the inside, and it was a tomahawk chop motion all the way to the rafters, right down to a guy's ankle, and he would act like he was falling down, and I swear to God, the guy's ankle was split in 4 pieces.
Well, you can't get away with much. Now there's TV everywhere, and not to mention the cameras. So, being dirty is difficult. And, I don't talk to the kids too much about that unless they, really ask. Those are the special sessions.
Right. The great students who might pursue that type of knowledge from you. Those are the ones you really want to mentor. But you're right about being dirty, man. Like you've told stories, Noodles, a bunch, more so about Prongs. We've had Pronger on a bunch of times where like he'd smack a guy for being a hero. Because the guy was trying to score.
Quote unquote hero. I'll never forget, he chopped Forsberg right across the wrist because Forsberg was dangling in the neutral zone being a hero.
How dare you do that?
I was like, that's kind of a good play. It was just, all he was doing was just killing time on the penalty kill, and Prongs wasn't having it.
Don't be a hero.
I've never told you guys this story. This is my most embarrassing story in hockey. I was playing men's league about 4 years after I stopped playing. And we're playing a bunch of kind of, AHL guys and guys we used to play against or play the minors a bit. And they're a little bit younger. And our team was having a tough night. Our goalie, I think he blew out both his groins in that game. He was really struggling. So the game was getting away, like 5-1, 6-1. So I start getting mad. I skate by the guy, and I'm like, on the other team, and say, hey, like, enough. Like, we get it. You guys are better than us tonight. So the guy I just told it to, he scores the 7th or 8th goal, whatever it was, and I just snap. I'm like, hey, Taz, do you get free tacos with that tonight? You like chimichangas? Are you getting chimichangas tomorrow? And I was just screaming, and the whole rink was like This guy, it looked like the Incredible Hulk going crazy. No one even took a shot after that. They were so scared. So the worst part is I have to go with them to see these guys at work because we coach hockey together. I was like, do you like chimichangas? Do you want a free chimichanga tomorrow morning?
Just losing it at a beer. Well, because there's no one in there too, right, Struddy? Like that thing echoes too, man. Anyone yells at a beer league game. Like, who is this lunatic?
Yeah, I was very upset because, you used to get, I think, what is it, like 8 or 9 goals? You got free tacos the next day.
That's right.
Maybe in Hartford, O-Dog. Maybe that was you guys in Hartford. I don't remember. But
I will tell you one thing, Struddy. It's like, when we played in the NHL, there was some grizzled veterans that would do some crazy stuff.
Oh,
I saw some teammates like cross-check and slash their own teammate in a battle drill over the head, and you're like, that is like really violent. But you just understand, like the older you get, the more you realize that there was like a level of caring that went on about wins, losses, or whatever. And you kind of got to be a little bit Looney Tune to do it. I don't know. It's weird to explain to somebody or justify that type of behavior. But everybody goes a little nutso once in a while.
They do. I think it's just very intense, right? The season's very intense. And then, winning, you have to just want it so bad that you just, it's not even you like winning. You just hate losing, right? And you just, that competitive spirit kind of is in you, and you can't wait. And so that expresses itself in different ways. For top players maybe a little bit less, but the medium to lower guys, we're fighting around the scrap heap for anything here, right? And you're just competing every practice. But I know when I was done, I was like, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. I can't just be like that guy where everything's a competition. Being the fastest guy down the ice or close to it or whatever, or the hardest worker. Like after a while, like, hey, I'm done. I'm out. I don't have any more energy for that.
Well, Struddy, we were talking about your Edmonton Oilers yesterday, somewhat indirectly, based on a comment from a young Maple Leaf. And, we got into the whole McDavid situation and trying to determine, like, what the next level is for him and if it's even reasonable to expect him to push the bar further than it's already been, considering what he did last year. He had 60 goals and over 150 points. Mm-hmm. Like, we haven't seen that in, like, over 30 years in the NHL. When you come into a new season, and I'm sure if he's not in town, he'll be in town in the next couple of weeks, and camps open up in the next couple of weeks. Like, when you start projecting this upcoming season, do you push it further than that, Struddy, or is it just natural that we got to scale it back and kind of accept that it's a really tough league? As great as McDavid is, the idea of 60 and 150 every year is, I don't think, reasonable.
He does play at another level, and that's with all due respect to all the NHL players in the league, but he is at another level offensively. Mm. But if you ask me what his next step is, I believe it's being the leader that he has to be to help the team win a cup. And that's not to suggest he hasn't been a leader, in growing into that role. But, for those who aren't aware, like he mandated everyone to be in town to skate yesterday, the team skates. So they have whatever they call them, the captain skates, and everybody's here. Everyone's practicing together. The pace is high. Like he's, and does it guarantee you a Stanley Cup? No, but I think it expresses to your teammates, like, hey, we're not messing around this year. We're getting here early. No one coming in, like O-Dog the night before with 3 cats and a couple hamsters trying to get everyone in bed and organized. Like, you are here early. We're prepared, and we're coming to get ready. And he's talked about, wanting to get something out of those skates. Sometimes those skates can just be, freewheeling times, but they're trying to get something out of it. So I think his job this year is, he's going to get, I don't know, I can't even guess what points, maybe a little bit less, a little bit more, whatever. Mm-hmm. But he's got to drag everybody else up and tell them this is the standard you're at. Like a Ryan McLeod. Yeah, you're now into your, I think third year in the NHL. You've got to be physical. You've got to go in and win puck battles. You can't just win battles with your speed. You've got to win puck battles. Maybe it doesn't matter as much in November, but when we get into the first or second or third or even fourth round of the playoffs, we need you to play that way. So I'm telling you to play like that now on September, whatever it is, September 5th.
Struddy, we were talking about goaltenders, guys under the gun in Canadian markets coming up this year. And you could talk about McDavid stepping up, but I thought him and Draisaitl were off the charts good last year. And you cannot win anything pulling your goalie 4 to 7 times in a playoffs, and that's basically what happened. Is that kid, like, if there was an under the gun list, under pressure, like Edmonton's goalie Skinner this year, he's got to be one of those guys, because you can't be pulling the guy that many times if they're going to win.
Well, first time through the playoffs, and probably a little bit too much to ask for a rookie goalie to be that guy.
Maybe so.
But the good thing is he's been through it now, right? So he's been through it once. Doesn't mean he won't make those mistakes again, or not mistakes, but he's more prepared for it. But you look at the year he had last year. I mean, I'm guessing at best they thought they'd split the starts between he and the newly signed Jack Campbell last summer. It didn't end up that way. Campbell struggled to kind of find footing. He kind of got it going around Christmas, and then kind of got soft again. And so can Campbell have the same type of season this coming up year as he had last year? I think he's going to be better. I just don't know how he can have that type of year twice as a goalie who's been around for a while. And then for Skinner, can he make the All-Star team again? I'm not sure it really matters. I think you just want him to kind of just hold his serve and just understand the strains that of being a starting goal in the NHL. What it does is over the course of the months, then you get into the playoffs and just preparing and all that. He's now been through it once, so I don't think the Oilers are in a situation where their goalies have to be like all world and just, be perfect all the time. I think they've got to be, a little better than average and just give their team a chance to kind of do what they do, because I think the Oilers as a group, they're going to be much more focused on goals against. I really think that's, if I'm the head coach, if I'm the captain, the leadership group, I'm hammering that into my teammates, from day one of whatever captain skate, we've got to be better defensively, because they don't need to score more. They need to defend better.
Strad, you've been saying that for 5 years, and all due respect.
Well, how many cups have they won? None. And I think that's a big problem. They got to bring that down, right? Like, I think that's a real challenge. You look at Game 5 and Game 6 last year against Vegas. I think they were tied, going into, I think it was either the first or the second intermission.
Yeah.
And it was 3 goals, bang, 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 all in 90 seconds. What happens if they can just hold that to 1? Maybe even 2, maybe get a chance to get back into it. So it's knowing that when things are getting rough, when the waters are getting a little heated, can you just weather that storm and get through that 5-10 minute moment of, just complete craziness by the other team? Can you weather that storm? Maybe give up now, maybe give up 1, but give yourself a chance. And we saw that last year in the playoffs where they couldn't weather the storm because the habits aren't there all the time. And, Doug, you and I come from a different place. Like, I think you win by being solid defensively and then go the other way and score. Yeah, you've got to score for sure, but if you can't win every game 6-5. You got to win some games 1-0. So I think Ekholm helps bring that message into the room. I think that, you look at the way that guys talked about after the postseason and the way it was just utter dejection. And I think that is what really brings into focus. So for the Oilers this year, I'm going to be watching their goals against. How does that look? How does it stack up against others? Are they either able to weather those? Because you guys have all been in those games where the other team comes out and they're all over you. Can you handle that first 10 minutes? Or maybe you're winning by 2 going to the third period. Can we win that? Because they're going to come out hard. Even if they get 1, because we hang on to it. But those are habits you learn in, not so much September, but October through April. And then those lessons hopefully carry you into the playoffs, so you have some experience in dealing with those moments.
Struddy, we did a confirm or deny yesterday, and the question was McDavid or Berard. Oh, no, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, McDavid winning the Hart. This is 100% lock.
Or Bedard.
One of McDavid wins the Hart or Bedard wins the Calder.
Right.
Right.
And would you confirm that or would you take the field? Because my argument is, and I think you answered the question about Connor. I don't think he cares about a Hart, and it might be voter fatigue, because what if he gets 140 points, then maybe somebody else has a great year.
Yeah.
But is it a scenario where, Connor's more focused on just team, or, he also wants to take home the hardware? And would you confirm that it's a lock for either one of those two to win the hardware?
That was a really complicated thing. It's kind of like I really have no idea what the question was. Like,
the question is
automatic. One of these 2 things are going to happen.
Exactly.
Okay, automatic. One of these 2 things are going to happen.
I got a flow chart out of that somehow.
Sorry,
if you're asking me which one's more likely,
Yes.
I
No,
think that
we're not
Connor
asking.
Bedard-
But go ahead. Go. That's an interesting one.
I think Bedard will win the Rookie of the Year. I think he's going to be fired up. But for Connor McDavid, I will say this: I'm not suggesting he doesn't think he's not going to get less points or he'll get less points. I think that he looks at a game and decides what he needs to do for his team to win the game. And if he thinks he has to get 5 points that night, he'll try to get 5 points. If he needs to be good defensively because someone else on there, he'll do that. And I think that's the attitude he's going to take into this season. I really think he's going to take a big step. And this sounds bad, but maturity-wise, like just understanding that, when you come in the league as a young player, and let's look at Connor Bedard, he's just going to be trying to get his points, right, and scoring, and that's what he does. You're young. You're supposed to come in and just figure out the league. That's what Connor McDavid did as well. But as you move through and you want to win a Stanley Cup, you now have to look over everybody. You're the captain. You look over at every single player in your team. How can you make them better? How can you help them be 2% better? And if by doing that, you make the team collectively that much better. I think that's what he's going to be doing. So, sorry, Noodles. I send me the pie chart.
I'll spit it on the floor. You can read it.
Struddy, you talk about the approach of if Connor's maybe got to get 5 points, and you know what? During the regular season, they're so talented. They're going to get into the playoffs, but maybe it's time to flip the switch a tiny bit, not a tiny bit, maybe a lot, where it's like, you think Jonathan Toews, maybe his approach was, I'm just committed to a 3-2 game and I want us to win it. You know what I mean? I
do.
That guy was not the offensive dynamo that Connor McDavid is, but that guy's approach and his attention to detail and his compete and his battle level, that was like, this is going to be 3-2 and we're going to make sure the Blackhawks are on the right side of it. It's a big deal, man.
It is. And I think that's, when Matthias Ekholm was traded here, last year, he talked about that. He said, we have to be as comfortable going to the third period 5-0 as our 0-0, and knowing we can win this game. And what that means is that you go into the third period and you're not trying to win the game the first shift or the third shift or the seventh shift. When it happens, it happens. Don't take crazy chances to try to get that goal early. Like just use what the game gives you, and then be patient. And if you're just patient, do the right thing over and over and over again. Sooner or later, the other team, you're counting on them making a mistake, you capitalize. Boom, score, we win 1-0, you go out. But those are the habits you're talking about, or that I'm talking about. And it's hard because, to win, you look at Vegas last year, how many highlight-worthy goals did Vegas really score? I watched a lot of those games. I don't remember many. Like, Eichel was great in the playoffs, but not a lot of highlight moves, right? And so it's just stable, consistent hockey. We're all on the same page, all 12 forwards, all 6D, just rolling out. They're doing the same thing over and over again. And eventually you wear the other team down because they make a mistake and you capitalize.
All right, Struddy. We'll leave it there, buddy. We probably got to get back on the ice or something, right? You got some star student waiting for you to break down, I don't know, E-to-D pass, walking the line. You're going to walk the line tonight with the future Bobby Orr or what?
I just had your old team, the Mississauga Ice Queens or whatever they call Ice Kings or whatever they call it, send me the beta tapes, and I'm going to go over your game tapes. I can break it down shift by shift.
All right. We'll find that tape. It's out there, man. Someone was subjected to that job.
After
they
a
had to
full
tape
summer off, too.
After a full summer off. It's going to get ugly, Struddy.
Can't believe it. That's a shocker.
That's the truth. Thank you, buddy.
Okay. See you guys.
There he is,
Bye.
Jason Strudwick, our good buddy. The Got Your Back pod as well. He and Ryan Rashog putting in work.
And Rob Brown.
Rob Brown, that's right. They got a 3-pack in there, right? Struddy joining us here on the Maple Toyota hotline. Build your next dream Toyota at Maple Toyota. And check out Maple Toyota's pre-owned inventory arriving daily. It's time to Toyota. Visit mapletoyota.com. Yeah, we'll see. We've got, that discussion is always a sensitive one because everyone snaps, right, in the hockey world when you suggest McDavid has to change something. Right. Like, remember when Tortorella said, I think he was speaking of McDavid, and he said he's got to change the way he plays, and everyone went nuts. Like, how dare you? He's McDavid. Listen, McDavid, he's the best player in the world. There's no question. And he puts up massive numbers in the playoffs. Between him and Draisaitl, it's absurd what they've put up. But
Brian,
they have not won yet.
I thought watching them play last year, there's no way that team's not going to win the Stanley Cup. Like, they were that good.
Yeah, coming in, they were the hottest team in the NHL.
I'm like, no one's stopping that. And I'm telling you, they couldn't get a save. Like,
that was it, but Vegas
factor.
also smothered. Vegas said it's not going to happen against us.
If you look at it, if you go back, Draisaitl, like, he dried up. Like, he had 13 goals, which was amazing in that. But you get a slash like that from Pietrangelo, and then he couldn't, the last couple games, he wasn't finding the back of the net.
Right.
McDavid didn't have that freewheeling ice. Like, Vegas knew exactly the way they wanted to play against those guys. And they said, if we'll take our chances, we'll try and shut down these guys, and we'll take our chances against the rest of the team. And what Struddy says is a good point. The habits of this group, because there was a time, I think it was game 5, where they're going in the second period is 1-1. And then within like 3 minutes, it was like 4-1, and the game was over. And they couldn't recover. And that's where I think the Leafs have learned, I'll bring it back to here, the Leafs have learned to play good defense while still backing it up with offense. But it's the whole package. Now, we'll criticize the Leafs, not tough enough, not, certain situations, haven't been able to get it done either.
Well, it's
right?
been the opposite, really. Like, the offense is really dried up for them at times. Like, it's not like when Florida was beating them. It wasn't a 5-0 beatdown, 7-1 or anything like that. It was 3-2, 2-1, overtime. I mean, there's a number of different reasons why the Leafs are in the situation they're in. The Oilers are in the situation they're in. The fact is, neither team has got it done. Neither team has
got to find a way.
Has found a way to continue to push. And if you're just a high-octane, offensively driven team, at some point that will come to an end in the Stanley Cup playoffs.
Yeah.
At some point you will run into a goalie or a team that is so defensively sound or so big that just smothers everyone. And there's a lot of history. I feel like we do this every single year. Generally speaking, the Stanley Cup winning team, they have a massive, massive defense.
Yeah.
And generally, some forwards that can lean on you too. But it just becomes a bunch of guys, not superstars necessarily. There probably is a Hall of Famer or two in there.
Taking away time and space.
It's always the same. And every year it's like, well, I think this could change. Or maybe McDavid can find a way through it.
If the refs call it different,
exactly.
And all of that.
They don't. They're not. They might in a decade or 20 years. I don't know. At some point it could happen. But it's not right now.
Formula
so if you think you're smarter than the history of the game, then try your best.
Yeah.
But, at this point, I'm not putting money on that. All right, Gerry's percentages coming up. Gerry's coming up. More on the NFL. Kicking off tomorrow night, Kansas City and Detroit. We'll get into that later this afternoon. Sarah Nurse coming up in about an hour.
Nice.
Right? She's signed on with the Toronto team. So we'll catch up with Sarah in about an hour as well. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app.
You're going to want to hear this.
Gerry's percentages.
I don't love being commissioner as much as I used to. I actually love it even more.
That's the voice of a Hall of Famer.
Are you kidding? Have you been out drinking?
You're all pigeons. Filthy, filthy pigeons.
It's Gerry. Gerry.
Yes, it is. Gerry's percentages making its triumphant return. We haven't caught up with Gerry in a few months, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a long time. Gerry's been a busy guy, but every year we close our eyes and we wonder, is this going to be the end? Like, will Gerry finally say, I'm not doing this? I got too much on my plate. But somehow we keep dragging him back in, right?
This could be the end of the line.
It's getting
Gerry.
close. You never know. Right? Like Michael Corleone and The Godfather 3. Every time Gerry thinks he's out, we pull him back in. All right, you guys ready? You want to hear from Gerry? Let's go.
Gerry's back.
All right.
Cut the music. Welcome back, you pigeons and peasants. It's Gerry time. Every Wednesday, let's make it a good one. Gerry's getting old. You never know. It might be the last season of Gerry's percentages. Let's get to the hot takes. Gerry's jacked for the NFL to get started because my Jets and Lions are both going to make the playoffs. That'll drive Hazy B, that pigeon, crazy.
Yeah.
Jets and Lions.
Yeah. When did they become Gerry's team? Like, he's a New York guy. I could see the Jets being his team, but he's got no connection to the Lions.
So it's a real possibility.
It is a real possibility. Statistically, it's leaning towards that. Like, the odds would suggest the Lions are going to finally make it.
Right.
And the Jets, I mean, there's a lot of hype, and they got Aaron Rodgers now. So, I don't know. Jerry's saying, and it would piss me off. I don't want to see either one happen. I got to be honest. I really don't want to see the Lions.
So the
do
percentage here has to be both of them.
Both of them get in. Jets and Lions.
I really truly believe the smart percentage would be 65%. 65%. You refuse, like you always do. You think Detroit's a dump, and you you will not acknowledge that team as an up and coming team, and you disrespect the coach. And you disrespect Jared Goff. I got the Jets as a slam dunk making the playoffs.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Okay.
With Aaron Rodgers and that D. You even laid it out for us yesterday.
Listen, they got the makings
they've
of it.
They've needed a quarterback. You ask any pundit NFL-wise, they've needed a quarterback for 2 years.
Yes.
They've had a quality enough defense, and they've had guys looking at ghosts out there on the field. Can't win. They're in.
Yeah.
And the Lions are too. I'm going 72%.
72%.
Yeah.
I mean,
and you'll eat your words if you talk back on that percentage.
All right. Well, I plan on it. Go
I'm
ahead,
high
Dennis.
on this too, though. I think it could be Detroit's year. And I just, Dan Campbell, he might get it done. Like, he might get all emotional up at the podium. He's going to have a few of those, right? And Aaron going to New York, like, he's going to embrace it.
He has so far. We'll see.
62%. Over 50, but not, one of them could go off the rail.
All right. Yeah, there's no way both these teams are making the playoffs in the same year. Do you understand the history of these two buffoonery factories in Detroit, New York with the Jets? Both teams find a way to shoot themselves in the foot. The idea that both of them have positive mojo going into a season feels like an impossibility. Like the universe is spinning out of control here. And I refuse to believe
Grappler, keep track of these all year.
Please do.
It's our first side 500.
Wow.
That they're both going to make it?
Yeah.
Done. Take it. I will take that to the bank. Obviously, there's a possibility, but I'm going to say 30%. So I am well into the minority.
Okay.
So, well into the minority.
Who are you down on?
Yeah,
it's the Lions.
I'll tell you.
It's the Lions.
I'll tell you why I'm down possibly on both. I will admit the NFC is weak. Detroit, they got a great offensive line. They got a lot of talent. This is where I'm at with Dan Campbell. I separate the two. I like Dan Campbell, the guy. He seems like a great guy.
Likeable guy, yeah.
What I don't like is the head coach who thinks he's bigger than the team. And
didn't he have a couple dumb calls last year?
Yes, a lot. Like, clock management is not a forte for
like
Dan
bad
Campbell.
Ones where he was like, I shouldn't have done that.
That's what I'm saying. Like, generally speaking, the great coaches are the Belichicks, the Andy Reids. They're quiet, they're reserved, they don't want to be in the limelight.
Yeah.
Dan Campbell, I don't believe that's conducive to long-term winning. When you're doing push-ups with the guys and you're rah-rah and yelling, trying to get a lion on the sideline, at some point your players are going to say, this is stupid. Like, I'm sorry, I can't buy into it anymore. That's my fear.
Well,
and
you know what?
Lions.
They had Bill Belichick's disciple go in there, and he was a disaster. Matt Patricia, who everybody thought that was Bill Belichick. He knows, he's watched, he's learned, and it was a gong show.
You're right. But
so you got to give something else a shot.
He was trying to be a hero, though, Patricia. Yeah. We can talk to Luke about it. You
know what? He tried to be a hero, but he's been sitting under Bill Belichick for a long time, and he went in there and pulled that garbage.
Exactly. And look how it worked out. Listen, the Lions in the second half are one of the best teams in football. They finished incredibly strong, and they're a good team. I wouldn't be shocked if they made it, but they're the Lions. And Jared Goff, I don't know what Goff's a good quarterback. He is. He's not a great quarterback, but he's a good quarterback. The Jets, for me, it's more the conference they play in, the division they play in. The Bills and Dolphins, if Tua's healthy, the Dolphins are stacked. They are stacked, and I think the Bills are better than the Jets. So I think
what's your original thought on Tua staying healthy past 5 games?
I don't see it. I don't see him healthy. I don't. I think I'm really concerned. This guy at some point is going to have to retire.
No kidding. Because the next one, people are going to be saying, "Can this guy ever play football?"
Exactly.
Again?
If he suffers another concussion, I don't see how he walks on the field again this year.
and they were ugly. Like his last
Yes.
concussion was like jarring,
Really
like ugly,
really bad.
like visually ugly.
Yes, very difficult to watch.
Tough
clearly,
to watch,
and
like,
obviously
you
to go
know,
through
as a
it.
fan, as a, you know, just to see that. You're right. I don't know. I think the Jets might have. It might be the year of like.
It could be, and if they do, so be it, man. Right. Like, listen, I'll be the first one to come in and say, "Look at that! I can't believe it."
Well, I know
We
one.
have a miracle that's taking place here. The Jets and the Lions are both competitive football teams.
I know one guy who is rooting against the Detroit Lions, and that's Luke Wilson.
Absolutely.
He hates their guts.
Yes, and he grew up loving them.
Yes.
That's how much ugliness has come with the Lions.
I want to hear
throughout his
what he has
lifetime.
to say about
We'll
that.
find that out tomorrow, all right?
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on here. What else do we have, Gerry?
Jerry heard you clowns talking McDavid yesterday and doubting if he can hit 150 points again. Well, I have no doubts. McDavid hits 150 again in his sleep.
In his sleep.
Yeah.
I
lot of
said
points.
this yesterday that you don't have the stones to excel in certain segments, and I'll say it for this segment too, because it's 100%, and you will not go there with that percentage.
Oh, I'll show you stones.
Yeah?
0%.
Wow.
0%.
Unfortunately, we've got another one.
There you go.
Yeah,
Put it
all
on
right.
the board.
Grappler, keep track all year.
Yes, Grappler, you're our bookie at this point. We will meet you in an alleyway downtown. Because, listen, I 150 in this era, although scoring is up, there's a lot of guys putting up big numbers.
Dude, you're forgetting what the Quizmaster called him, okay? Listen carefully.
Most evolved.
The most evolved player of all time.
What does that have to do with
just
hitting
listen,
150 again?
He's continuing to evolve.
No, I think the evolution is over, man.
Really? What is he, 26 years old?
Yeah.
Evolution.
26.
He's not getting. How much better do you think he's going to get than what he did last year?
I think
Dude, when you get the league continues to be younger, you get a bunch of garbage team, young defense. He's going to go nuts again this year.
He may score 140. He might hit 140. I don't think he's going to score 60 goals again. I don't think that power play will be as lethal.
I think the evolution is what Struddy was talking about. His attention to, I don't care so much about getting that fifth point. I don't want to give up that fourth goal.
Right.
Like
not cheating, basically.
Like, you know, so that might leave some points on the table. But although he's
0%.
But he's playing in
No.
You know what the best part about this is? I'm betting the under, and it's 150. I can sleep through like January, February before he's even close. Because being honest here, if he hits 150, it's in the last week of the season.
Yes.
I don't think he's putting up 160 or 170. As great as he is, the league is still a tough league.
Let me ask you this. During the shortened season, did you think there was any chance that he would get 100 points?
No, I did not. And it was remarkable that he did that. It was incredible what he did that year. There's no question. But that was also a weird, goofy COVID. Listen, he had 150 last year.
Dude, he got 100 points in 56 games.
Yeah, remarkable.
Yeah. I'm having a tough time with this. Percentage, I'm going to say 57% on the...
Just into the majority.
Into the majority. But
that's no stones right there.
That's the heart of a...
Let's call it that. Well, that's
the heart
no
of a rat.
stones.
So we got 100%, we got 0%, and then we got the guy right in the middle. 57%.
He can do it, obviously, but I think
Yes,
he's
he
more
can.
concerned about other things.
That is minus 57 at the no balls open.
Listen.
Runaway leader.
That's Tiger at Pebble in 2000.
Yes, that's Tiger at Pebble,
And
minus 57.
We're all Ernie Els. We're all chasing it, but we're not really that close.
Yeah.
Listen, there's injuries come into play.
Yeah.
You know, maybe they mix around lines. I don't know. Who knows? Listen, the guy's gonna lead. He's gonna win the Art Ross. It'd be shocking if he didn't.
That's more the crazy. That's the craziest question.
Seems impossible that he wouldn't win the Art Ross
if he's healthy.
If he's healthy, assuming McDavid plays 82 games.
He wins the Art Ross. That's 100%.
He almost has to win. Like, it would be the shock of sports if he didn't win the Art Ross.
According to that guy over there, he thinks Connor McDavid might win it.
Well, that's true.
Like in Chicago.
Yeah, that is true.
Although,
there's another one where you guys, you don't do the juniors, and you gotta watch this firsthand before you come.
I'm sure he's a great player.
I can't wait to see him. I can't wait to see
Sure, he's a great player.
I'm looking. I'm sure he's
a great player. I've heard good things. When I place eyes on him, I'll give you a full analysis.
Yeah, I can't wait to see him. I'm very excited.
Okay.
But again, his team is going to be.
They're awful.
A lot lesser.
They are horrendous. Chicago is going to be awful. Yeah. They are.
No,
everyone understands that. That's not a hot take. That's just being honest.
Yeah, they're not going to be a great team.
I like where they have the real potential of going somewhere great in 3 years.
But that's 3 years.
But that's 3 years down the road.
Yeah.
All right, why don't we come back? We'll continue with Gerry's. All right,
Okay.
We've got a couple of bets on the go. We got Gerry's on the go. We got a lot cooking here this afternoon.
Could be a possible future segment, Gerry's Bets.
Gerry's Bets, I think, could be brought to you by FanDuel. I could see that coming.
Gerry's Bets? I actually love that because we'll have to keep track of it.
Then you're really talking. Yes, okay, Gerry's Bets, there's something there.
All right.
We'll get to the bottom of this. Gerry's continues, OverDrive, TSN 1050, and on the TSN app.
Billy Nye, the wrist shot guy, doesn't look like the kind of guy that cares about a contract dispute. And he'll show it by scoring 40 again this season. And the whole time his hair will be dry, as Noodles says.
Listen, 40, hair wet, dry, it doesn't matter, man. You can shave your head. You score 40, you don't have to explain yourself. But I like that. Right back into Gerry's. This is high-level stuff, man. We're not messing around now. Gerry's got him hitting 40. He hit 40 on the nose last year, William Nylander.
I'm going to say 40%.
Ooh.
Under 50, eh?
40 goals.
It's a lot.
It's a lot, and it's not like not everybody's Mike Gardner. Like, I'm not a 40-goal scorer. I did it one time. Doesn't make you a 40-goal scorer.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't mean you're a bad player. I had a bunch of 30-goal seasons. You're still a good player. But to get to that 40, a big factor is going to be how they're aligned in the power play, because there were some times where he was secondary unit in the playoffs. That was crazy. And I actually thought it was crazy. It's like you got a right-handed shot like that, and they were tossing out O'Reilly. They were tossing out different guys. Like, seems pretty simple to me. Matthews' wrist shot on one side, Nylander's one-timer on the other. There should be a lot of threats, including down low, because everyone's scared you-know-what-less of those two shooters. Mm-hmm. Very simple. But I'm going 40%. It's awfully difficult to rip home 40 in that league.
Mm-hmm. The only thing that's putting me over 50% is contract year. It's on a platter for you to go earn it. Like, you write your own ticket. You want double digits? Go and write that
You
ticket.
do 40 again. That's a pretty good way of boosting your value.
Yeah, but I mean, Timo Meier had 40 and got 8.8.
Mm-hmm.
You want double digits? You got to have a year that shows that you're a double digit player. Like, that's
how many did Timo Meier have this year?
He had 40. He had 40 goals.
Mm-hmm.
Like this past season, did he not?
He was close to that. I don't know exactly what his number was, but
no, he had.
I know he had 40 the year before. I'm not sure he got 40 this year.
Anyway, he had a great year.
Right.
San Jose, Jersey, and he
the
got
bottom
paid.
line is he signed for 8.8. That's
right.
I just don't understand.
He had 40 right on the nose.
No,
the grappler is saying he had. So he had the exact same stat as Nylander.
Yeah, he had less points though. He had less assists. But what I'm saying is that it's on a platter for him to go earn it right here. Not that he hasn't, but if you want a big number, either on a long-term deal, short-term deal, he's going to be unrestricted. So he's got to, like, in a contract year, you always see guys, this is where it's on the line go.
Now,
right?
sometimes it can weigh on you, and sometimes, like O was saying, I don't think it has anything to do with the contract. It's more of just who you are. I think William Nylander is a very good player. I don't think he's a superstar top 10 player in the league. I think he's a very good player. And I also think, listen, 40 was a remarkable season. I fully expect he gets 70-plus points and 30-plus goals if he's healthy.
Right.
But I think 34 is going to come to the table and take a lot of goals away this year. Like Matthews had 41 last year. I think he's going to explode this year. And, at some point, there's only so much puck that can go around. I think I could see Willie at 35. Like, if he has 35 goals, 77 points, that's a great season.
That's
great
what he
season.
is.
And I think that's probably what he is. I'm going to say 25% that he hits 40 again.
All right. You guys are trying to pull my number down. I was.
I'm not hating on the guy at all.
I was going to be 55% based on
Noodles. You got a train rolling. You're minus 55. Go with it.
But what I'm saying is I'm over the 50% because I believe what he's capable of, how the team offensively is shaped, and contract year. I'm throwing contract year in. Pasternak had a contract year.
It's a factor.
You know,
it's
like
a factor,
it is a factor. He's and if you've got a situation where it's like I'm asking for, and I have no idea what he's asking for.
But I think we all know it's a fair amount of money.
Right. I want a lot of money. Okay. Show us how much money you want, type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
You want to be close to be paid like the other two? Go and produce like the other two.
Yeah. I don't think he'll be worried about his contract. I don't think anything concerns William Nylander.
I get that. I'm just saying as a that might
it's a motivating factor. It absolutely
That's why
can.
I'm over 50, because I would have been under 50 based on what you guys laid out.
But
the Matthews argument is a good argument because he's going to take some goals, like Matthews is.
Yes.
So I think there's lots there.
I think Nylander, though, if he scores 35 and has 80 points again, he'll still say, I want, 10 million or 9.5 or whatever. Like, for him to come off that number, he'd have to score like 20 goals and 60 points.
Yeah.
And I don't anticipate that'll be the case. All right, maybe some Gerry's After Dark in about an hour. I don't see why not.
Sure.
Gerry's After Dark, right? Get into the NFL. Season kicking off tomorrow night. We'll do that into the next hour. Sarah Nurse will join us as well. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2.